One of the first things that is always underlined for your collection of stories is your skill to destroy any borders between reality and fiction, known and unknown, national and cosmopolitan. Sometimes it is impossible to guess the place or time that frame these stories, which deal with the so-called big subject at the heart of human life. The stories have strong local stamp, but also they are dealing with topics that reflects, in quotation, the atmosphere of 21st century Europe. In the interview on the occasion of winning the European Union's Prize for Literature, you mentioned the local aspect of Latvian literature, some specific that is in regard to it, which is not so often connected with the topics that deals with, but generally that there is some specific of Latvian literature as such. On the other hand, I have read that with your first novel you have on purpose disconnected with the Latvian context because you needed some wider context. Can you tell me something more about this relation between the local topics and the global topics in your work?
I was looking for things deliberately outside Latvian context. I'm already coming from the generation which is on the border. I'm still born in Soviet time, but already went to school and grown up already in the, so to say, post-Soviet time, and no more identify with the Soviet values. And I think that my generation was in a way traumatized by it, and we couldn't find a place, and we wanted to identify with more modern and Western values. And for that, I think I was looking it outside, somewhere outside in this world which is beyond the borders of our small 2 million country.
In one interview you are saying something very intriguing. All of my stories are stories for death, because at the place from which I am coming it is still very difficult to talk about death. We don't speak about it even in the circle of our family. Does this mean that you often perceive the act of writing as a kind of dealing with obsessions that are mostly silenced? Transforming what does not want to be said in the text, in the story, and thus creating a new meaning for the inexpressible?
Yes, so what if we reduce literature as such, we could find that all the literature is about or is speaking on just few basic or foundational themes, and that would be life, death, love, religion. So in that sense, all of the literature is dealing with death in a way. But this collection of short story was the concept of it to speak on the subject of death, and many of these stories are, so to say, autobiographical and are about people whom I knew. My relatives who have passed away, and it's indeed very hard in Latvian culture to speak about death. We don't do it. It's like a taboo subject, and I felt that I wanted to speak about it in some way, and I realized that I can't speak about it with my family because our family, and not our family, but our culture is not open to that, to dealing with this issue like in a conversational format. So I thought that as a writer I can address these questions in writing, and it worked very well, and I even didn't imagine it would work in that way. But after the book was published, I started receiving some phone calls from my relatives, and they were like crying. They said they just read this story about this person whom we all know, and just speaking on a phone and sharing these memories. And then I thought that it is in a way possible to speak about it. It's just that probably no one has the courage to start this conversation.
You are coming from Latvia, a country that has around 2 million inhabitants, similar to Macedonia. When you are coming from small country, it's quite difficult your voice to be heard in bigger literary scenes. How do you deal with this aspect of your writing? On the other hand, have you ever felt some advantage of coming from a relatively small literary environment? And at the end, what is the visibility of Latvian literature in Latvia, and what is its visibility beyond its borders?
I think that now in recent periods of time, Latvia gains more and more visibility, and it is also thanks to this year's London Book Fair, in which Latvia, together with Lithuania and Estonia, as 3 Baltic states, were in the guest status of London Book Fair, and many Latvian literary works have been translated into English and have started to draw attention to Latvian literature or to Baltic literature in broader terms. I think it's been difficult until now because we are on a border, somewhere in the middle, because our culture and identity is probably not as exotic as far north or like Icelandic maybe, which is more exotic, more distant place. Latvia is somewhere here in Europe, but nobody in fact knows what it is. I think that people still expect from Latvian literature to provide stories about Soviet and post-Soviet times, maybe writing about this Soviet experience. This is, you can feel that this is sort of demand from outside. But I think that Latvian literature is very diverse, and in a way it's very interesting to follow its development now, especially when there is more this cultural exchange. Until now, if Latvian literature was more, not so widely translated, it's been in a way hermetic in some sense. But now, when the works are translated, it gets more, exchange, and it also starts influencing Latvian literature as such. So I wouldn't say that it's hard. It's very interesting to be part of Latvian literature.